So former Waterford hurling manager Paraic Fanning joined the executive of the Club Players Association this week, and delighted to say that the Mount St Club man joins me on the line now. And Paraic, you're one of 5 new members of the CPA executive. Kieran Fitzgerald of Galway, Claire Healy of Laois, Dennis Coughlin of Cork, and Colm Garvey of Roscommon are also on board. Why did you decide to get involved?
Hi, Tomas. I suppose, look, in short, probably a little bit of frustration, and probably a love of the club game and a love of the GA in general, and where it's going. I just think it's probably become a little bit harder now for, change to take place from the ground up through the normal process, within the GA. If I'm being totally honest, I don't think, there shouldn't be a need for the CPA. If things were, happening, I suppose what I'd see is properly anyway in relation to our overall games and the direction the association is going. And I think that would be the common view of many people. So I think if there's going to be any chance, I suppose, to, fix this but I do think it needs to be fixed for the better. It may have to come through, that type of a channel more so than what I'd call the normal channels. And probably the channels I'd prefer to see it coming through as well, but it's just become so difficult.
And what do you see, Paraic, as your role within the CPA executive going forward?
Well, look, I'd just like to think I could, in some way, I suppose I'm in a lucky position, or some might say unlucky, that I've been, involved at many different levels, and including, the county level and club level, and obviously colleges level. So I've seen probably pitfalls and pluses in all, in all areas. And for me, it might be just use that level of experience that you've had to say, look, because there are things that people don't see too, and at the centre of all this are players, and that's a massive thing. And there's, the county players are club players, and that's something that gets lost a lot in the middle of all this. And so I just think that I can bring some balance to it, in a sense, and that's my reason, and that's what I hope to contribute, and along with many others. And there's some really, really good people where everything is well intentioned, and really good club people there, and GA people. And that's it. There's nobody doing anything or saying anything that I don't think people could disagree with in the overall context.
We'll talk about 2020 first, Paraic, and then we'll look beyond that in what can be done for the fixtures calendar into 2021. The GA have outlined a roadmap for the remainder of the year. Club activity will be played in an 11-week window between August and mid-October. We've inter-county training starting back on September 14th, with inter-county matches set to resume on October 17th. And this week we've seen county boards across the country revealing their structures and making their draws. Looking at the overall picture, is this a good deal for the club player, do you think?
Look, I'll be honest, we're all delighted. I think the first thing I'd say, everyone's delighted that there's club games and there's GA games of any shape or form. This is an extraordinary year. I think people have to be fair and balanced on it as well. I think there's a bit of hysteria around about what, certain counties or different counties are doing in relation to club championships. But, I don't think it's right, as well to get too involved in people board bashing. It goes on too often, and it's not probably right either. I think the biggest challenge at the moment is, and anything I'm kind of looking at, or in my views, will be more towards 2021. I would like to think that, that the club, obviously club players that are not just seen as a sideshow by the GA in general, and that we have to get it out of the way for the county game. I'm delighted the county game. I'm just not sure myself whether, on the timelines yet. But look, hopefully it'll all work out from that perspective. But no, I think, to be fair, it's as good as, people have to respect two counties, like who have dual counties. And we're probably one in Waterford as well, where, you have a football championship and a hurling championship to try cater for. And the same probably, I know I've seen it in Wexford as well, the same way. It might be a little bit easier in places like, Donegal and Tyrone and that, where it mightn't be easier to run more focus on football and vice versa with, hurling in other places. So, that's a challenge, especially when there's only a certain window to do it. That's a challenge for everybody. It's just to make sure that it is fair and as best you can get it. And I do think my only view would be that there is 11 weeks, and it doesn't, that's the one thing I think should happen, that it's tiered in such a way, structured in such a way that you use it up. You don't have to go crazy on it.
The CPA called for sanctions to be imposed in a statement this week, Paraic, if the club window isn't adhered to. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, look, it's just oversight. Like Croke Park will often kick the can down the road and say, look, we can't give directives, to counties and things that they're out to run their championships. And strictly speaking, they can't, but they can close club pitches on a directive and club grounds, and there's no problem with that, and they can give directives there. It's not so much, I suppose, sanctions. It's just, again, it is sanctions, I suppose, in the sense of a call. You don't want to see a situation that it's totally, done and dusted, hurling and football in a few weeks, which it looks like now it's not going to be, and that's good. That's good, and you have to work with that. As I said, it's an extraordinary year, so it's very difficult in the window, and that's probably, if I was critical of the GA in any way, I think they maybe should have, been a little clear with their own calendar, and maybe even, I would have said initially to, go with club first, and probably would prefer that. If they were going to do anything on a quick scale, it might have been the county. But then I don't know. I'm not sure on that either. There's a lot. It's all kind of up in the air, I suppose, a little bit, and difficult to get a balance. But the main thing is, look, there is a roadmap, and the counties out put out their fixtures. Waterford put out their fixtures, and all the counties have put out their fixtures. And now it's good to go. And I know players are excited. I'm excited to be able to get around to club games now, and I'd probably go to the games wherever I can get them now. It's because we all missed it so much. So look, it's positive that there's games going on. I don't think there'll be, I don't think there'll be anyone, getting sanctions, in the sense that I hope it's respected by everybody that runs the games, that they're, it's not just that we represent the club players as well, and that we have to look after them, and that's the big thing.
Ken McGrath was on WLR last weekend at Paraic, and he felt that there wasn't a need for inter-county action this year, and he wasn't convinced by playing championship matches in October, November and December. Would you agree with that viewpoint?
I would, pretty much, yeah, I would, to be honest. As I said there just a few minutes ago, I'm not sure whether the timelines are there. I think I would reckon, obviously, there's a financial aspect which has to be respected as well as needed. But there's a bigger picture, particularly this year. And I think the club game has got such a kick over the last few years, and it might have been a good chance. We saw what communities have done in recent weeks, and months throughout this pandemic, in relation to, supports and the general goodwill that was there. And it might have been a great year to actually focus on the club. And I think the GA missed a chance on that. I do. I think now what's happening is it's a little bit rushed everywhere, and there's a bit of panic, and it just has to get played. Whereas if there was that timelines are there to extend out in towards October, and maybe late October with club games, you would have had I would definitely say a far better club championship with the media attention, everything being on the club, and a little bit of a reset for the GA as well, because in the broader context, I think that's needed. And I don't want to get away, I don't want to get too bogged down on 2020 because, as I said, it's very, very difficult and very for everybody, and particularly, I'd say, both board administrators and fixtures administrators are tearing their hair out trying to figure it out, and it's because it's not easy. So I think that has to be, you have to respect that they're doing their best as well. My biggest thing, and I think everybody, in club players, not so much a club players association, but club players around the country, is everybody knows it's not working what we have at the moment, and everybody, I think, including the hierarchy of the GA, will acknowledge that there's things that need to be done. And 2021 and onwards, there's no point in continuing on every year with this conversation, this argument. As an association and as a people, can we just fix it once and for all and be done with it?
Paraic, what issues do you see with the current fixtures calendar as it's laid out right now when we're looking, as you say, to 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, well, look, the biggest issue I see at the moment is, I suppose, club games. You don't know, as much as we try to do, is you don't know when the club games are on, and because you don't know what way to go. And it's very difficult to sort it without having a conversation around the county calendar, because one obviously affects the other. And the club is so central to the GA, you can't have a situation where your club players, who are county players as well, are not playing, are not with their clubs, or find it difficult, to balance everything. And that's crucial. Like, those lads need time as well. And the inter-county championship is absolutely massive to the GA in terms of, of income and revenue, and how things and money that goes out to develop, on a grassroots level and around the country. So that has to be, then the calendar must reflect that as well, and make sure that there's an inter-county game that's, prosperous and vibrant at the same time. But you can't have a club. What I see, you can't have a club game now where the new culture is we have a couple of games in April, And I would have been, I'm very familiar with all this. And then they go, it stops then till October or whatever, maybe September, depending on different counties. And then you go back again, and lads go off to America for the summer. Everybody says, everybody wants to travel. Not everybody wants to travel. It's become the new culture and the new norm that people will travel because there's nothing else for them to do in the summer.
Is that system broken, Páirc, having that club window in April, the 2 or 3 games, then players head away for the summer, then they're back then probably in September to run off the rest of the championships?
Yeah, I think that system doesn't work. I think it is broken. I think it's well-meaning, and it does serve a certain purpose in relation to clubs getting games in April and having a window is important. But I don't know that it actually work in practice, because you have to see too. To be fair to a county player as well, like he's probably towards the end of that month, maybe 2 weeks out from his championship, and he's or she as well. And others are focusing on different. They're focusing on a game that's big game that's coming up as well. That's difficult. And then, like I said, the fact that it stops and then there's nothing, and everybody goes off. And look, you have it all through the year. You have cottages in, caught as well. If it's given, that's starting to die a death as well. Cottages hurling because again the National League is up and running, and it's total conflict all the time. The fact that we have to start 2021 competitions in 2020 or 2020 competitions in 2019 in pre-season just to get them played tells you itself that the whole system in the calendar is broken, and there's no need for it. So that's they're the biggest things I see at the moment. And the balance is, the inter-county scene is huge and it's important, but the balance is wrong, and that's the thing. I think there has to be a balance where lads can be with their clubs and the people they grew up with, and as at the critical times, and and more regularly as well. And then at the same time, they can be an inter-county player without having this, tug of war or whatever. Or nobody wants that, and nobody needs that, and the players certainly don't need it, and managers don't need it either.
Is there a case, Páirc, for clearly defined inter-county and club seasons to give players that clarity in terms of a fixture list, or what sort of a calendar do yourself and the CPA have in mind?
Yeah, well, look, it's probably edging towards that, and there'll be elements of it where there's, an overlap. You'll see it too. You see it in rugby, where I suppose they have, they're clearly defined international seasons, and there is a breather there too, and the club game or the interprovincial game is kind of stops and takes a lull and then comes back again. That's part of it. So it happens, and all those things should be trashed out on the table, but there has to be a better way than what we have at the moment, and I think there is. I do think you're probably edging more towards that direction, to be fair to county players as well, or club players, and to be fair to club players, that they know they have the best players around with them, not just dropped in for a game in the middle of 2 games, in the middle of a weekend. If you can avoid that, it's better again, obviously. So, that's what you're trying to get to. I would think there's too many pre-season competitions, and there's probably not as much need for them, and there is a way, I suppose, of how, but you still have to run an inter-county championship probably, in the key months of March, April, May, June and July. Now it's your All-Ireland in August, so it doesn't change a whole lot from that perspective. But it does change it. But I would probably think it would free up more time for hurling and Gaelic football in the summer months of, particularly July, when there's only 2 teams probably left in the championship after, as you progress through July. There is a way of actually getting it. There is club championship in July and August. That doesn't mean you can't have club leagues running in April, May and June. And that's kind of what you're trying to get to, that you can actually develop a system where there's a proper closed season, where lads can actually, club players and county players can, switch off and not have games. There shouldn't be any games in December. That's a definite in my view. There shouldn't be any need for be a club or county or anybody playing games in December.
Well, would you see the possibility, Páirc, of the All-Ireland finals being played even earlier, maybe into July, and have the club season start up in full from August onwards?
Look, that's a difficult one, because we've already brought it forward from September, and the GA did take that step to bring it forward to August, from September. So I don't see that happening in the immediate future, and it may not be easy. Still, look at the shop window for the county game is that summer period, but when it's in August, there's always about 3-week gap before the All-Ireland final. So particularly by the end of July, that would mean that every club bar the 2 All-Ireland, or every county bar the 2 All-Ireland finalists are more or less finished their inter-county season anyway. So that would give you an opportunity to play games in July and August anyway, or even mid-July on. So I think that would be acceptable to clubs. had that and you were still having a particular calendar of games, that doesn't mean you couldn't play the odd championship game at some stage during the previous month. You need to play one or two. That is possible from an April period on, when you don't, particularly in April and May, as you move on. But again, that all comes down to you've got to set the inter-county calendar, and then you've got to maybe set parameters for clubs that they have to have reached the club quarter-finals, say, by, early September or mid-September, and then at least you have quarter-finals into September, October, quarter-finals, semi-finals and finals in September and October. Now, and if you do that, and if that was even consistent across the whole country, that every county was going to reach the hurling of football quarter-finals before mid-September at the latest, and I'm only taking that as a very broad date in the middle of it. At least then you know that there would have been club championship games in the previous 4 or 5 months. At some stage, on whichever structure counties decide to adopt. And you have to respect counties have to adopt their, they know on the ground as well. So they can have their different championships. There's no problem with that. And running, your club and you're holding a football championship the way you want to run it. But if you could get general agreement across the board that every single county would actually make sure that they'd have their county championships ready at knockout stages by, mid-September, well then you're going the right track. And this wouldn't happen overnight. It's going to be tweaking things. There's no perfect system. It's going to be tweaking things.
And Páirc, what would you like to see happen between now and the end of the year in terms of discussing these issues, trashing out a fixture list for 2021, and what role do you think the CPA can play in that process?
Look, I think the CPA can be very proactive in it. Again, all what I think should happen is I think the GA need to acknowledge that it's not working, which they have done. Paraic Duffy has made a report in 2015 that more or less said that, and he actually said, that we can't continue to lose club players as it is, and that's what we're doing. And he proposed it had to change, it had to be more balanced, and that was the case then. It also came up in a report in 2013. That we're losing 50% of GA players don't play beyond 20. That's huge. So the GA have to acknowledge that it's not working right now, whatever's there. And everybody else has to acknowledge, though, that the inter-county game is needed. And it must be balanced. And those players need to have balance in their lives as well. So, I think it's important that they decide we're going to sit down around the table with not necessarily, yes, of course the CPA want to be involved in it, but other stakeholders and, be the GPA and everybody only after one thing here. It's for the good of the GEA going forward. I don't want the GEA to be dying a death and going down the road of club rugby, where nobody knows at this stage. Before it was big, and now club rugby is, I don't believe is, that prominent in Ireland anymore as regards profile. And our club game, thankfully, has a lot of profile. So I think there needs to be a big discussion. There needs to be a willingness on the GA to move now, and not they will do this next year or the year after, and we keep coming back to the same conversation. That's the big thing. There needs to be action now, and I think that's incumbent on clubs to play their role as well. And County Board officers realise what we represent as well, and everybody say, well, look, we have to come up with something that's for the overall good of the GA, and that's all any of us want. There's nobody, I don't think anybody, that I know, and even myself in particular, that only wants one thing, and that's a thriving GA. I've grown up in that, and absolutely, what it was meant to be in my life, it's been huge. I've loved it. There's been ups and downs in it, but I've loved it. And the fact that I don't want to see it, dying a death, and are not getting the profile it needs, and the frustration of clubs that can't keep going on. That's what I really want to see. So I'd like to see it, get around the table, and I'm not saying around the table, that's a figure of speech at the moment, but discuss the options available and come up with something that we all would agree is better than what we have at the moment.
And how hopeful would you be, Páirc, that those discussions will happen? Because it's 3.5 years since the CPA was formed, and the organisation still hasn't been officially recognised by the GA. And Liam Griffin spoke recently to Off the Ball. He said he almost felt like a troublemaker within the organisation. Would you be confident that these talks will happen before the year's out?
I suppose the only people can answer that are probably the hierarchy themselves of the GEA and their win. I would be hopeful, and I would expect that they would actually see the situation at the moment that is not, and they've acknowledged it. This is not. There's nobody saying anything the GEA haven't said themselves. This has come out in various Stuart Hall reports all the time of the need to sort out something for the club there. So if we're serious about what we say and what we print and write in reports, and if we're serious about, where the club sits in terms of, the GA going forward, and if we're serious about, we're very lucky at the moment. We have the standard at the county level is unbelievable. It's fantastic. And it's never been higher. But the frustration at club level has never been higher either. So if we're serious about fixing all that, well, then we acknowledge something needs to happen. Or we can just kind of hide behind things and leave it, keep going the way it's going. And as I said, I think recently, we look back in 10 or 20 years' time and say, how do we ever leave that happen? And that's the only thing. And look, if someone says, look, you waste your time, you shouldn't be doing that or whatever, and decide, or they throw it out and go a different direction, but once it's discussed and it's actually, reasonably discussed, I suppose, and, critically discussed, that's the important thing.
Well, I'm sure it's an issue, Páirc, we'll revisit in the very near future. Thanks a million for taking our call today, and we'll catch up to you again very soon.